y'all? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Two Young Pastors podcast. I'm here joined by none other than the co-founder, the co-producer, the co-anchor, Pastor Jajuan Sanders. He's here. He's here with me. Some people call him, um, um, uh, dude. What does Dr. Donaldson call you sometimes? Jajuan. He says something that's so funny every single time, and I just laugh. And I don't correct him because I just find it funny, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Um, been an employee here for 4 years, and still can't pronounce my name. Uh,
It's
if
good.
if we go back to 2018, been working here for seven years. Um, and yeah, I guess this is how it goes. This is how it goes. But yeah, I get JJ1, Jajuan. Yeah,
Saunders.
and Saunders, never Sanders, never
Yeah.
Sanders. I'll be honest, I don't know too many people whose last name is spelled as Sanders and it's Saunders. I promise you, like in all of my 30 years of living, I've never met a single person whose name was spelled Sanders and it was pronounced Saunders.
Yeah.
And so individuals' inability to get it right um is a little concerning. Um,
Mm, mm,
but it's
mhm.
okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Watch this segue. Watch the segue. Does
Watch.
that make you feel persecuted, bro?
Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. I don't know if persecuted is the right word, but it definitely makes me feel something. Definitely makes me feel something. But those checks, it softens the blow. It softens the blow. Uh,
Hey.
but I love that segue. I love that. I love that segue. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. What we talking
Yeah.
about today, bro?
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Hey. If you're listening or you're watching, look. We're talking about Christian persecution. Now, again, this is in context, right? We were finding the numbers. And again, this is in context of every other pretty much mass murders and things going around the entire world. There's always something crazy happening. But because we're in a Christian community, something
Mm,
that hits closer to home because all of the families that are affected by either them just being who they are, right? So we're talking about people that might look different, but they're being attacked. Like all of those pain and they hurt. But
mm,
then it it's it's a different kind of pain and a different kind of hurt when it happens to someone that believes in the same thing that you do,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And man, when I was driving on the way back here to record this episode, I was just listening to a service and they were talking about this like World Day of Prayer for Christians that are being persecuted, right?
Yeah.
And then it made me start to think about the different dynamics of what would ministry look like if we lived in a country that was being persecuted, right? So
Mm,
like this conversation is like, hey, like what would it look like a lifestyle of a Christian, and what would the church, what would pastors be doing if we were indeed in a country, man, that did not respect religious freedom? Because we talked about it a little bit. So some of us are taking discomfort as persecution. Like just because you have to defend what you believe in does not mean that you're being persecuted, right? Like have the facts, have the evidence, back up what you believe in, right? But let's not get that confused with what the Bible talks about persecution, right? The Bible's not talking about a philosophy that's being challenged, right? The Bible is talking about real physical harm
mm.
that comes to you or your family because of your belief in Jesus, man. So, man, like, just wanted to kind of ask you the question, Joanna, as we kind of get what would ministry look like being in a country that's persecuted, bro? Like, what is something that you think we take for granted being in a freedom of religion country?
Um, You asked me a couple. You asked me like a bunch of different
Few
questions
different
just
stuff,
now.
yeah.
So let me start with the first one. You said what would ministry look like um if we were in a country where Christianity as a religion was persecuted
Yeah.
against. Um, I I don't know any personal accounts of stories where it's typically persecuted. I'll say this though. I think we can start off with the fact that typically when Christianity is persecuted and suppressed, it's typically because there is a Muslim population that is very present in that area, and so I think it's important to really start off there. That there's a Muslim faith. Sometimes there's the Buddhist faith. Sometimes there's the Hindu tradition, or Hindi. Is it
Hindi,
Hindu?
Hindi, Hindi, yeah.
Okay,
You were right. You were right, you were right.
I didn't want to come off as tone deaf, um, but I don't know too many Indians. But what I want to say is that what I want to say is that um, a lot of times we understand that individuals can get rather zealous about
Mhm,
their religion, about their faith, and I think what's taking place, let's say in Africa, even now, what you'll notice is that there is this tension between Christianity and the Muslim faith, right? And I think, biblically speaking, that goes all the way back to Abram, who couldn't keep
mhm,
his genitals in his pants, and came
mhm,
up with a crazy idea with his wife Sarai, to have a child through their slave Hagar, their
mhm,
their slave Hagar, and Ishmael came about.
mhm, mhm,
And what you would find is that through Ishmael, the Muslim faith would kind of sort of rise, and on the other side, there is Isaac. There's Isaac, where Christianity would later arise. Um, and so it's kind of crazy that
mhm.
Abraham's kids probably
Messed up.
have.
They're all messed
I
up.
don't I don't want to say like, because like we could say messed up, but from his loins,
Uh-huh.
the two most dominant
Mhm,
religions in the world have been born.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, don't be polyamorous. But I think it's that. And so I think that ministry will look a lot different. Um, we have a lot of benefits,
Mhm,
right? And as pastors specifically, there's a social benefit to being a pastor here in America. Even
mm,
if individuals don't necessarily care about Christianity or religion in general, most people that you meet will treat you with respect. Like, as soon as you tell them what you do for a living,
it's a
like, you'll
difference, yeah.
naturally get a, like, oh, all right, okay. Like I was legitimately at the bank last week, and come to find out, I met an individual who was Adventist.
Mm,
And that, like, because because I'm an Adventist pastor, bro, what ended up happening is that um, he actually sped up the work that they were trying to do on my behalf,
wow.
just because I'm a pastor. Why do I say that? Because, well, naturally, if you are in a country where your religion of choice is being persecuted, then you're not going to have nearly the social benefits that we'll have.
Mm,
More than anything else, you'll face discrimination. You're going to have to figure out how you can um, journey and dwell and uphold your faith despite the difficult times. What it would look like, well, the good news is that the New Testament really shows what it would look like, because there are several letters written by Paul, Peter, James, Jude, like,
mhm,
so many individuals have written letters, and they show what you have to go through. Like, Paul got stoned.
Mhm.
That's something that you can expect to happen. Paul got chased out of town. That's something that you can expect to happen to you. Paul got beaten up. He got jailed
Mhm.
because he was not just a ministry worker, but like he was persistent in his faith. Okay,
Mhm.
as one of the religious leaders, and so you can expect hardship. You can expect to have to encourage people to hold on, even when it seems like you should not hold on.
Yeah.
And so I recognize that it is something that a lot of people do not want to do.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful that many of us here in America, we don't have to go through what individuals
Yeah.
in the Bible went through. And so that's the first thing that I would probably say. But what about you? What do you think ministry uh, would or wouldn't look like if we were in a country where Christianity was persecuted?
Man, I think a lot of us would feel like we're breaking our tradition. Like,
What do you mean?
so, like, think about it, right? I went to a Christian concert, I think like 2 weekends ago,
Yeah,
and I could buy the tickets online. It was
yeah.
advertised to me on Instagram,
You're funny.
right? I could while I was driving there, no one stopped me to ask me where I was going.
Yeah,
And I got there and I parked, and there was no police outside. Um, and I did not feel scared at all. And I went inside, the concert started. I was talking to people next to me. It was great. We had a great time. And then when we left, the police helped us leave the venue.
yeah,
So they were helping us organize so that it was an orderly time to leave, and chatted with them and then said bye.
yeah,
And I went back home, posted about it, and that was it. Like
yeah,
it was not a life or death moment. It was an
yeah,
experience to have. And as I was listening to this church on my way here, they were like, having the Bible app on your phone is a capital offense in some countries.
sheesh,
um, where
sheesh.
they have the ability to check your phone, and then that. So if you don't know what a capital offense is, right? It's a life or death offense, right? So if you're fined convicted of it, then it's punishable by death. So imagine, man, like all the Christian podcasters that we have, all of the Christian YouTube channels that we have. Like I think this man, I was watching this one thing, bro, where it's like coffee with Kate or something like that. And
It's like what?
it's just her talking and having coffee, and she has this like crazy amount of views, and I'm happy that she's getting it. But being in a country where you can post things like that and not face retribution, right? Because of who you are and what you believe in. It's just something to me that we take for granted so much. I'm thinking about I had this one professor, man. We have all of these conversations, right, about women's ordination right now.
Yeah,
We've been having it for a while, right? And I had a professor who in undergrad named Professor Kulikov, and he's from
Kula,
Russia, right?
Kulikov.
Kulikov, man, nicest dude, bro, nicest dude. And he, with his demeanor, you would not expect to hear the story that he went through. And
Yeah,
I'm talking about persecution in Russia during like the Soviet Union times. And
mm,
he was just like, like we're talking about women's ordination, but he was like, there was a time in Russia where the only pastors were women, because all of the
mm,
males that were pastors or that were leaders in the home that believed in Christianity or were Adventist were sent to working camps, so day camps, labor camps, right, for years. And the only way the church survived was because there were female pastors that did the baptisms, did the communions, and did everything else, because literally of necessity. So here's the thing, right? There was no there was no meeting, there was no vote, there was none of that. It was
Yeah.
all the pastors got sent to jail, and now you have to have a church that's functioned by female pastors and elders.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, man, like persecution for all of its horrible, horrible things in life, I
Yeah.
think one thing that God says persecution does in our faith is that it refines us. Like
That's true.
it like he's like through the fire, I'll refine you and make you as fine, pure gold, right?
Yeah.
And with the lack of persecution, man, not that I'm asking God to send persecution, but when he does send it, right? When he does send it and he does allow it to happen, um, it's just this refining process of well, what really matters, uh,
Yeah.
and and I think all of the like I don't want to put like an adjective to it, but all of the things that don't really matter, like we'll kind of like be like, all right, well, what really matters, and we'll kind of be able to kind of boil it down to what it was, man. So I mean, I'm thinking about this, right?
Mhm.
If you're a Christian and you being publicly baptized, like we live stream our baptisms.
Yeah.
And if you lived in a country where where being converted to Christianity is a
Mhm.
capital offense, because that's real, right?
Yeah.
Would the church still push for public baptisms?
When you say public, do you mean like camera?
Yeah,
Because I think you answered your question.
like,
I think you.
like, so, like for us, right? Like we celebrate baptism. We invite families, friends, even if you aren't Christian, right? Like they come through and they celebrate that moment. I've seen it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like how different would just one small thing, right? That every church is supposed to do, baptisms. Like how different would baptisms look like in a country where converting to Christianity is illegal?
I mean, I think it would be much different. Um, like it's interesting. Um, because you are now challenging people to do something that they're just not used to doing. Most people don't share or I don't want to say most. A lot of Christians don't share their faith now,
Mm,
right? They
mm,
don't talk about God probably as much as they possibly can.
mhm,
Okay. And a lot of times when they do, it can come off as preachy. Um, and so now you're telling individuals, well, in addition to you currently not doing something that you probably can be doing a little bit more if you had a deeper relationship with God, now let's put you in a context where your relationship with God is a crime.
mm. Wow. Yeah.
um, and so I think that you begin to see how a number of the things that we take for granted is really icing on top of the cake. You know what I'm saying? Like public baptisms is a privilege.
Mhm,
Putting streaming church services. It's a
mhm.
American privilege. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And there's a difference between surviving and thriving.
Mm,
We have the opportunity here to thrive because our country supports it. Other countries, other nations, cities, whatever town it is that wants to suppress Christianity, you're not going to be able to do some of those things. Uh, Now you can be like Paul in Scripture, because I actually just preached a sermon this past week on Philippians.
mhm,
And the background for the letter to the Philippians is that Paul is actually he wrote his letter from jail.
mhm.
He like, and that's something that a lot of people take for granted. They're just like, oh dang, he in jail, and they just skip past it, And it's just like, no, like he is writing a letter. encouraging encouraging this church to continue to hold on, to continue to have faith, continue to do what is right while he is in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to a point in his letter that he actually says, not only do I bring greetings,
Mm-hmm.
but I bring greetings on behalf of the guards. I bring greetings on behalf of the staff here. Like we all are saying hi. I've shared the message with them. Like, like that's insane. That's insane. Paul is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's insane.
Yeah.
And so you have to take the risk of being in situations where you sharing your faith can get you killed, yet you're still willing to do it anyway because you believe that what you have, the God that you know, can really improve the lives of the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it changes, I think it changes your approach and how you share
Mm-hmm.
the gospel. Because I think the way that, at least in the Adventist church, how we were taught, how I was taught growing up, you're living wrong, you're living wrong, da 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 da. Get your life together before Jesus comes. I think that if you're persecuted, it forces you to adjust how you communicate the gospel
Yeah.
to the extent that you're not saying, "Hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that." If you're telling people that they're doing something wrong because of their religion, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna get killed. Like,
You're the first one to go. That's crazy.
bro. But I think what it will force you to do off bat is really lean into how life with God and life because of God is better than whatever
Mm,
you're doing right now.
mm,
Like, oh, you feel lonely? Well, listen, I know a man who never leaves you nor forsakes you.
mhm.
You feel like society has changed you, man. I know a God who extends grace to all sorts of people in all sorts of situations. Like, it forces you to really identify the good things about God
Mhm.
so that you can convince people that, man, maybe I should give God a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe life with God is better than life without God.
Mhm.
And so, like, the good news is that we really do have the Bible to show us what life would potentially look like if a circumstance like that were to happen.
Mhm.
um, but it would immediately say it will let you know what's the main thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, forget social media, forget. Well, I don't. It would be it would be dumb. It would be dumb if you're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm Christian on social media." Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's dumb. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, survive as much as you possibly can, and I guess try to convey the gospel as much as you possibly can.
Mhm.
But I guess the real question is this that's popping coming through my mind, and I want to ask you: in a situation like this, I think many people have the question: should I keep my faith to myself, or should I share it regardless of what could happen to me? That's the question I got for you. Should I keep my faith to myself, or should I still share it and live it out despite what could possibly happen to me?
Bro, I like Daniel pops up into my mind.
He was a
Praying
prophet. He was a prophet, right?
right.
And let me play devil's advocate as you
Mhm.
process. Let me play
Yeah.
devil's
Yeah.
advocate because Daniel a prophet.
He well, a prophet in the sense of what?
Hmm? He was a prophet to the Israelites in the time of the exile.
I, I he was an advisor to the king. Daniel had the opportunity, right, to close his window and pray in his room. He could have still kept his faith, right? All he had to do was just find another room that still faced towards
The only thing
the
I was
city.
saying is that he was a prophet of God,
Uh,
not just a
and
person who not just a person who had not just a person who had the gift of prophecy, but he was an individual who was shown things by God that God wanted him to specifically share with his people. And the reason why I bring that up is a person can easily say, well, Daniel was a prophet. I'm not.
Was Stephen a prophet?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Like like I don't think not okay. I'm gonna take that phrase back. I don't think I know. I know scripture does not support the idea of hiding our faith under a bushel. Like for me, the parable of Jesus like comes back into my mind, and even his last things, his last sayings to his disciples. The mission was make disciples of all the nations, right?
Mm,
And in that context, it's hey, be wise in how you do it, but there is no opportunity to not share. So whatever it might look like, right? It, it's hey, you do not have the luxury or the out of not sharing. It's in your context finding a way to make disciples because that is that last command that he leaves us is making disciples. And then now it's up to us as the church to wrestle with, hey, how do I make disciples within my context right now? And what does that look like? Because I can't sit here and put a mind of like I can't live in Afghanistan. Like I have no idea what it looks like to live in Afghanistan under Taliban rule, right?
yeah.
I have no idea what it looks like to live in China right now and be in a house church where they're being
Yeah.
persecuted by the government, right? Like
Yeah.
I have no idea how in Russia right now, right? You can't hand out pamphlets to invite someone to evangelism meeting, right?
Mm,
Um, so like the churches are finding a way to grow. In China, it's exploding. Like Christianity is exploding in China, but it's all underground. How how are they making it explode in China when
yeah.
when when a atheistic government is saying no and then squashing it, right? How is it
Yeah.
growing in North Korea, right? Like I have no idea, but it's growing. So when a
How is the suppression? Are they like using violence
yeah,
and like these countries, like are they making public examples? Because it's one thing to make a public example.
yeah,
You
man.
know, it's another thing if like I know there are in some countries there are checks. Like they'll check to see if you got something on your phone. And that's one thing. It's another thing where it's kind of sort of just discouraged. Yeah, you kind of sort of can get around.
Mhm.
And so the only reason why I say that is because in some places it may seem a little easier than others,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, I'm thinking I'll use my home country, India, right?
Mhm.
Like constitutionally, it's a non-aligned government, like here, right? Where hey, like you have a freedom of choice where you can pick whatever faith you want, right? And you're good as long as it doesn't harm the public good, right? Like
Yeah.
you're good constitutionally. But working wise, in terms of policy, like if you're a missionary and you go to like North India, right?
Yeah.
There are churches in North India and there are areas where you just know that if you go there and you proclaim things, right,
Oof.
you'll die.
Oof.
Um, like I think I shared this one pastor from India came to Sasdak, my home church,
Yeah.
and shared this video of a Christian being beat in the street to death, and none of those people got prosecuted because the police in those areas support they're a part of that fate system. Um, so it's like, hey, government wise can say one thing, but it's like, hey, on the low, what are they supporting in the areas that really aren't being reported
Mm,
on consensus? Because we talked about the number, it was like 4,000 something last year that were killed, but that's just the official number that we're able to get But how many people are being persecuted in China that we don't know about? How many
Mm,
people are being persecuted in India that we don't know about? That their deaths are being flagged as something else when really it was, hey, they have to smuggle Bibles across the border,
yeah.
right? And then they're caught. And instead of being flagged as a Christian, they're flagged as a smuggler, right? And then their death goes down like that. So it's like, hey, like what, like man, it like all these things are popping up into my mind. There is no hard solution, but I don't think anyone here in America can say that they can't share their faith. And in an atmosphere like that, that it's okay to hide their faith.
Yeah, it's interesting because biblically speaking, there are when you come across the New Testament, the individuals who primarily are conveying the gospel to people of other nations and possibly other faith groups, it's the apostles. Yet there are individuals who kind of sort of hold it up
Hmm.
once the apostles leave, and continue on with their faith. Yet even let's say within the gospels, um to a certain extent, like Christianity was still permitted. um they just didn't have the same rights that, let's say, a church like the Jewish church had, because like the Jewish church, they were allowed to at least worship in a certain temple, or in
At
temples
first, yeah.
but um Christians, they didn't necessarily have that same cachet. And at the time, the Jews didn't necessarily help them. Then they weren't trying to help them because they didn't necessarily agree
Hmm.
with Jesus
Hmm.
being called the Messiah. Um, Yet they weren't. There was not like a, if I see you, we're gonna get you, we're gonna get you type
It
type
shifted.
type of mentality.
It did
You know,
because it shifted from being a sect of Judaism, and then they distanced themselves, and then that gave the Romans the ability to then like go hard down. So it was illegal at one point, right? Because it was against emperor worship. So that was like the legal loophole to be like, oh, you don't look at the emperor the same way I do because he's my god, but now you have no other gods, right? So there was like a shift once the Jewish nation said, "Hey, they aren't really a part of us." It gave the Romans like full like authority where Nero then just started picking up them off the street, right? Like them being like thrown in the dens, like in the Colosseum, right? Like being lit on fire and stuff like that. Like there was a shift, and yet the church grew. And I don't think we can say that it was just the apostles, man. That
but I think it grew because they expanded beyond the grasp of Rome. Um, so I think they were able to go into spaces that weren't as heavily policed as, let's say, a capital,
Mhm.
and they were able to make connections with individuals in those places when they. And I think maybe this is something that's taking place in other parts of the world. Um, we're not seeing miracles. I think the Holy Spirit was on those individuals in a way that I haven't necessarily seen in my life. I haven't seen healing
Mhm.
like what the Bible identifies. I haven't seen speaking in tongues um, like the Bible kind of sort of shows. I haven't seen miracles taking place like what was taking place in the first church, which in my opinion helped to sway individuals to become believers.
Mhm.
And I don't think that there has been, let's say, a unification on what is the important gospel message, what's the story, what's the narrative that needs to be told. to individuals to really convince them that, hey, Jesus Christ is a person that you should follow, and that
Mhm.
you should walk in alignment with. That's something that I think is kind of sort of missing, and that I think is missing in our time. Um, and I think maybe it's happening, and maybe we just don't know that it's happening over there, because maybe they don't have access to phones and stuff like that. But I think that that's how it can possibly grow, if they can truly see the power of God being made manifest in the lives of the witnesses. I
Mhm.
think that's the only, because why would you follow something and there's no evidence that it is good?
I mean, I'm thinking about uh Paul preaching, right? And saying, "Hey, this is the unknown God." And he convinced people through his argument. It wasn't through a miracle. It was through a logical argument that he said, "Hey, you are believing in all these gods, but that's the one that you need to believe in." And then he proved through a logical way that, and he got
Who
some people, he didn't get other
who
people.
who? Because Paul always had a group with the Jews.
Mhm.
And so I think like the first part is him convincing the Jews that the God that they thought they understood is actually not the God they need to understand. Because it's not like Paul is just out here talking to a whole bunch of Romans,
No,
and
he went to,
he's
what's that?
converting
I'm
only Romans. Like he
It
was
was in
also
Athens.
converting Jew. He was converting a lot of Jews to
Mhm,
become Christian. That helps. That helps.
mhm, mhm,
And so I what I'm speaking to is like, now we're living in a time where everything is not who is your God.
mhm,
It's is there a God?
mhm.
And I think that's kind of sort of like the part that trips me up, because they lived in a time he was speaking to people who could support him and say like, oh yeah, like this makes sense. Like Jesus as the Messiah makes a whole lot more sense than um the person who we're still waiting for. And I think that evidence, that conversion, helps individuals who may not be believers, who may not have believed in God at all.
But he also he shifted his ministry to the Gentiles. And for
Mhm.
them, they didn't have this idea of a Messiah. They just had the other gods. So his argument to them was, hey, they're like, his thing
To
was a
say
logical
that they
argument.
were not aware of to say that they were not aware of the Jewish God, I think that that's an overstatement. I don't think that you I think that the Jews were known.
Right, but
I'm not saying they were popular, but I'm saying that, like, you know which group believes in what. And
I I
go ahead.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But I from the arguments that Paul makes in man, I'm forgetting the exact verse, bro, where his
And Romans?
not in Romans, man. Where he is on that missionary path, on that journey, and he is he is talking about the unknown God, but it wasn't to Jews though; it was to Gentiles. And his argument was not based on a Jewish heritage; it was based on what the Greeks would know, and based on their knowledge.
Okay, and Acts 17.
Like I forgot what city he was preaching in, but he was.
Athens.
I see. I thought it was Athens, but I was like, that doesn't because what what he's what their idea is that God represents that city, and the authority that he's trying to take away is, hey, Athena and all the gods that are in their pantheon, right, are subject to someone greater, and the greater gods that the god that you don't want to identify with wants to identify with you. So why are you worshiping lesser gods when you can be connected to the creator? And then he says that this is the unknown god. So like his argument was not a Jewish heritage. It was a, hey, look, let me work with what you have right now, and then through your understanding of what you think is happening in the world, I'll prove to you, not through a miracle, but through your understanding, what and who Jesus is and what he could do for you. Like, I'm thinking about people today, man, that are not convinced about or through a miracle, but they're
Yeah.
convinced through, how do you have so much care for someone that like does not, that is actively trying to persecute you, you know? Like, the way that Jesus says that people will know that God exists in times like these is through our love and our unity with each other, right? Where there is no other way that people can comprehend um something keeping us together outside of something that's a supernatural connection, that we're like, hey, regardless of our disagreements, we're gonna stick together.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so powerful about that, is that in itself is if you think about it, it's a miracle today, where people that disagree with each other are still in community with each other.
Yes. I so I think I think it's this. Because I was going back to this. Um, I was going back to this, and I I'm trying to understand,
Mhm.
because in the world that we live in today, and let's say in America, you can. What was the question again? What was the question one more time? What was the
Uh,
question? What are we
I
talking
think
about right now?
what you were trying to get at was um the miracles that were happening in the New Testament was one of the ways that people converted in, and the absence of miracles that you might not see might be a hindrance to getting more people in
Okay,
persecution.
I do believe that. I still do believe that
Mhm.
it's a hindrance. And I think, like, the Bible kind of sort of talks about it. It admits this. It doesn't say that, like, hey, Paul was like convincing everyone. Because I made sure I look back at the text, and if you read Acts 17, verse 16 to verse 30, 34,
Mhm.
it highlights what took place.
He didn't get
Uh,
everyone, yeah.
and yeah, he did it. At the end, it ends on like a good note, um, because there are two. It's kind of sort of like two scenes. One scene is Paul going to Athens and arguing, debating people in the temple.
Mhm.
Um, and then there are people who, like, philosophers, who come by and like, yo, um, we need you to come over here, and we need you to make your case, because you saying this stuff, and we need you to make your case. So he goes over, he makes his case about the unknown God.
Mhm.
um depending on the translation, it may not say unknown God, but
Right.
um he makes the case, talks about God being the creator of everything, all those good things, and it concludes with this last paragraph that starts at verse 32, ends at verse 34. um, and it says, and I this is what we have to be, and I think this is what I'm having to be okay with.
Mhm.
um, have to be okay with the fact that some mocked him,
Mhm.
um, but others said, we will hear you again about this. So there are some who mocked him. There are some who said, we're not sold yet, but we're open to hearing you again. And then It says, but some men joined him and believed. Um, and so that is to say that even his argument did reach some people. Um, now I he was not in a situation where he was getting where his life was being threatened. I in this situation, this isn't a situation where his life was being like
Oh,
threatened.
that was the other one. That was
Like
yeah.
I like this is not a if people find the Bible app on your phone, you're going to be put to death. That's not the situation.
Mhm.
He was able to promote Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And that is not to say that's not to say that God can't perform a miracle,
Yeah.
but that is to say that a lot of times that miracle will not be performed. There are a lot of individuals who have been tortured in Jesus' name, like, and it didn't happen. Um, and so I am trying to really speak to the individuals, or and speak for the perspective of the individuals who are like, I don't want to be tortured.
Mhm.
I don't want to have to suffer for this, like not in this way. You know, it's one thing to suffer as a Christian and your fingernails aren't being taken off.
Yeah.
It's another thing to suffer and until you deny Jesus, they're chopping your fingers off.
Mhm.
Like there are degrees, there are levels to this.
It's it's an escalation, yeah.
And so how do we tell how can we tell people, hey, if it's for Jesus, be willing to do it. Just be willing to do it regardless. That's crazy.
It's not us telling it, it's Jesus saying it, man. Like, that thing that's the powerful thing about it is that it's Jesus saying it. It's not us. Like, we aren't telling anyone to do anything. Like, we're saying, "Hey, the idea of discipleship is that you follow your master wherever they go. And if your master ends up going into persecution, as a disciple, you walk with him into it."
I don't like the fact that you are trying to make this thing seem easier than it is.
I'm not.
Um,
I'm not.
you
I'm
know,
not. I'm
like
not.
you smiling, like
Because I'm trying to make it an easier message to receive.
easier. This isn't an easy message.
It's not, bro, but but in it we can't be discouraged though. Because while we're here thinking about, man, like persecution this and persecution that, I've had my first elder who's like very involved in the mission in China, right? It's all underground to us, so it's not official. But he says that they're happy. They're not they're not depressed and sad and unjoyful. He said that they are filled with joy and they're happy. And that kind of hit me. I was like, when we sit here and talk about persecution, we think that we're gonna be depressed and unhappy and life's gonna be like cloudy every single day. But for the people that are actually going through it and their lives are in danger, like the report that he gave back was
Okay.
like,
So obviously that one church in China, this is not a monolith.
it's
Okay.
not the one church though. It's not the one church. It's the entire area.
Persecuted Christians in the same way that black people are not a monolith, right? Like persecuted believers are not a monolith. Different individuals in different countries have different experiences. Like
100%. 100%.
like the Egyptians were slaves. They were not happy. They were actively groaning and crying out to God for help.
The
You can't
Israelites, yeah.
tell me,
Yeah.
you can't tell me that if modern day people were not being oppressed and
Mhm.
being threatened and being killed, you cannot tell me that they are going to be like, oh man, we're happy. Those people in
Obviously,
China
l
are obviously
l
going through their persecution
Mhm.
is a persecution that's obviously not life threatening
That's not
because
true. That's not true.
So you're telling me, you're
Yeah.
telling me that there are people who are being like, hey, if they find me and I have the Bible on my phone,
Hmm.
you're telling me that they're like there's no fear at all. Like you could be happy in one moment.
Yeah.
Like that's not a problem.
Hmm.
I think it's also okay to say, hey, we're concerned for our lives. And it's okay to tell people
Yeah.
it's okay for you to be concerned
Yeah.
and to have fear. Like
100%. Yeah.
and what I'm saying is humanize it.
Yeah.
Humanize it.
But the part that I was getting more from what you were saying is the persecution. While it is a one of the hardest, craziest things that we as humans can go through, like physically, mentally, and emotionally. Like I can't ever imagine what it's like to lose like my mom or my dad just because they believed in Jesus and nothing else. And then I survive out of that moment. And then the the trauma of my faith now is having to still believe in Jesus and God in this particular way. And a part of that experience is then my parents losing their lives, and then me still having to be in that faith. Like I can't imagine what that's like at all. But there are people that go through that their faith is challenged. They have trauma in their faith because of what they've experienced. Like there's no blanket that I can put, even with all my optimism, like over that. I've heard too many stories, and I've seen too many like even me, I couldn't go to India and register myself as a pastor, going there to preach, because I would have been rejected entry into the country. I had to go in as a tourist. Like this was the advice given to me all of the from the general conference and the local pastors that invited me. They're like, you can't say that you're a pastor and get in. And while the time I was there, I had my cousin with me, because if they found out that I was the one preaching at that school, right, for the entire week, I could have been in danger. So I had to have someone with me. And every time I left out of the campus too, right, I just had to have like a person with me to make sure that I was okay. And even when we were doing public evangelism, man, like someone from the council in that local city had to be there, right? Like forms had to be filled out, and I couldn't just baptize on that day. So, like, I'm not like speaking of it as someone that's like crazy optimistic, but like I went through just like 0.5%, right, of the beginning of that. And
25% is not a lot.
I was scared out of my mind, bro. Like I walked up to the guy at the border entry, and I had to like be like, all right, like I'm just gonna say I'm a tourist, and that's all I had to do, and I was fine. But just
All I'm
just
saying, all I'm saying now, because you actively just expressed my point. Like before, you were like,
but
"Hey,
it's joy.
you're like,
Listen,
hey,
listen,
Jesus,
that is the
Jesus,
peace, bro.
Jesus
That's
told
the
us to
peace
do
that
this."
passes all understanding.
So Christians,
Listen,
Jesus told us to do this, and
that's
so
the peace that passes all understanding.
because Jesus promised that there will be hardship. Hey, y'all, get ready for
You
hardship.
Yeah,
All I'm saying is, it's
I'll say
okay
that
to.
again. 2 feet down, flat-footed, no hands up to defend myself.
The only reason why I'm saying it's not advantageous to say that is because it ignores our humanity. It ignores our humanity.
Mhm.
Uh, like it's much easier to say, "Hey, I was scared." it's much more beneficial to say I was scared. And if you ever go through something like this, and God forbid you don't, you know, it's natural to be scared. And
Mhm,
yet God can see you through. And if he doesn't, our prayer is that, truly the glory that will come after the suffering of this present time will indeed and encourage you to hold on,
mhm,
and allow you to see that it's worth it.
mhm,
All I'm saying is speak to the humanity,
mhm.
and not just, hey, we gotta do it, this is life, so get over it. That's it.
That's just my personality, bro. That's just my personality. It's alright. Like, let's
That's
go
not your
through it.
personality. That's not your personality, though. That's
Man,
not your personality.
how?
Like,
How?
because I know you. I know
Mhm,
you.
mhm.
So I know there are certain things that you procrastinate on. I know there are
100%.
certain things that you avoid. And why do you
100%.
avoid them? You avoid them and you
I don't wanna do them.
procrastinate because you don't want, or you're afraid. And
Well, that's
so
true too.
to say that that's your personality, no, you can say this the way that you're saying it,
Mhm.
because right now you're sitting far away in a from a seat of privilege,
100%.
where
Yeah.
you're not encountering it. And so all I'm saying is sound human.
And bro, like, so so here's the last thing I'll say, and you are right.
I don't want to hear you say I'm right. I just want you to say, like, hey, this is hard. This, like,
We're both saying the exact same thing there. It's hard. Like there's no roundabout way of getting out of persecution in our faith. I think that's what I'm trying to get at is is that there is no way out of it, but we shouldn't allow that to discourage us. I think that's the main point that I'm trying to get through is that we
I
sh mhm,
here's what I think is an even more affirming way of saying that. Um, the Bible, God promises that difficult times will come, right? We even learn Old Testament, many of the afflictions of the righteous,
mhm,
right? So it's written throughout Scripture that as believers, there will be times where we will be put in the most unfortunate circumstances. I think I'll say this: it's understandable if you question God in those moments.
yeah,
It's understandable if you get mad at God in those moments. It's understandable if you do experience discouragement in
mhm,
those moments. And in those moments where you are downtrodden, where you do want to lose hope, where you do want to give up, I think it's in those moments where you have to indeed um, tap into tap into your why. Because as a Christian, as a believer, like as a human, your brain will say survive, survive, survive. I think the believer who has faith has to be, you have to push yourself. And so I'm not even going to say that this is normal. You have to
mm,
push beyond human reason to be able to stand up and say, hey, even if I die, I will still live in Jesus Christ. Um, the Bible says, he who tries to save his life will lose it, but he who is willing to lose it, he will indeed save it.
mm,
Like, you have to, by faith, shift your logic,
mhm,
and so that you can say, hey, even if I die, I will still live. That's, to a person who's not a believer, that's dumb.
it's crazy,
That's
it's
dumb.
foolish, yeah,
But that's what you have to, like, get to. And if you don't get to that point, God is not going to punish you because you
Mm.
don't have the same faith that a Paul had.
Mhm.
Most people don't have the faith that a Paul had. There was only one Paul.
Mhm.
There are loads more people who were taught by Paul or were convicted by Paul, and they're not written in the Bible. And so my point is, there are going to be some Pauls, there are going to be some Moseses, there's going to be some Daniels, and then there's going to be the rest of us,
Mhm.
right? Who are normal people who don't have the heroic stories. There are going to be those of us who may buckle.
Mm.
And I think that God is gracious enough,
Mm.
that if you buckle, He'll know your heart. There are going to be those of you who hold on, and praise God, you held on because you're also crazy, like Paul. But I think the most important thing is whether you held on because you were crazy in your faith, or you buckled because you just did not have that level of faith. I think it's important to understand that God sees and He knows our hearts, and He has a plan for all of us, which is why He took Enoch to heaven,
Mm.
because He knew Enoch was a punk and Enoch didn't want to die.
Is that where you're getting away from that?
And
I was
so,
about to say that's why you're my pastor, and then now I have to distance myself away from you.
and so, if you are like Enoch and you are a punk, listen, God could take you out before you have to go through the things that you got to go through. All right, or that you could possibly go through. He'll make sure He'll come and get you. Rather than getting tortured, you might get a nice bullet to the head. That's a quick and easy death.
That's
Let me stop. I'm joking.
crazy. That's
I'm,
crazy.
I'm,
That's
I'm,
crazy.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But
Mm,
we're done.
we're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. Well, that was a crazy way to end this, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of it.
Dark humor.
And I hope you got something out of it. And please let us know, man. Like if you have any family stories, if you have just stories that will help just to enlighten the conversation, or if you have a perspective, if you're crazy like Paul, or you're not,
Or a punk like Enoch.
or crazy like Paul, or a punk like Enoch.
And the
Um,
reason why we say punk was that Enoch was afraid to die, it's not because of the Bible, because the Bible doesn't say that he was
yeah,
scared. Ellen White, she is a person who had to get the prophecy that we as Adventists we hearken to, for further light on the Bible. And God apparently showed her a vision where Enoch was punking out. And so take that part with a grain of salt. If you're not Adventist and you're tuning in, you don't have to adhere to that whole portion of Enoch being a punk. You
mm,
know,
mm.
but
I'm
Enoch did
Adventist
not
and I
die.
missed that part. I'm Adventist and I missed that
It's in
part.
pa- it's in her writings in Patriarchs and Prophets. It's one of the earlier chapters, since Patriarchs and Prophets is a book that goes or details the events that took place between creation
Hmm.
and maybe the beginning of the prophets.
I remember
Yeah,
starting it. I don't think I ever finished it. Um, I
I
gotta
probably
get
didn't
back
finish
to
it
start
either.
back.
It probably finishes around the time of Samuel.
Mm.
Probably
Right,
Samuel.
patriarchs and prophets. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
And I
sense.
think the next one is called Prophets and Kings. So I think
Mm.
it picks up. Um, the next book picks up with the life of maybe Samuel, and goes through like the kings of Israel, and ends it with the end of the Old Testament. So
Got it.
yeah.
Got it.
But
Well,
anyway, yeah.
you got two things, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Two Young Pastors podcast. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, be safe, y'all.